storm days that we could meet. I apologize for the weather. We can control that. There's agendas there, and there's some handouts. One of the handouts was kindly given to us by Larry Dunphy, and it shows the population of students. 1979, I believe that is the date.
Yeah, that came from Troy. That came from Troy.
Oh, came from Shred. Essentially, the population of RSU74 is drawn.
Yeah, I think that came from Troy, yeah.
We looked at prior to tonight, we looked at back to 2014, and it's gone from 700 and something and 14 down to 54.
Excuse me, could you just raise your voice a smidge? I can't hear you down at this end of the table.
What's that?
Could you raise your voice? I can't hear you down at this end of the table.
I'll do my best.
Okay.
Is there any way that we can shut that circulator off? Not the heat pump, because the heat pumps really don't make noise. But I think it's the other. Yeah.
I think I know where it is. I know where it is. As long as I don't get in trouble shutting it
Cindy.
off.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's down
Sit
there.
down.
See if this works.
That way there, I'm sure you.
Yeah.
No, but I think we do need to speak up for everyone's.
Can you
Yeah.
hear me?
Yeah.
Really? I'm sorry. I'll try to do better.
There you go.
With a microphone.
Next sheet is the 25-26 numbers from the state that are certified by the superintendent each year. And it gives you an idea what the population is expected by grade. By town, and it projects 82.5 for the town of Emden and 532 for RSU 74. I also put out there a sheet for assessing that I picked up from the town's assessor. This is what is sent in each year from the town of Emden to the state as their projected assessment and valuation. In 2025, it's 436,550,000. The 23 is 270 million. She's projecting out by 2027, we'll talk 650 million in the second assessment. So as the student population goes down, the assessment of the town goes up. And that's why I said 3 meetings ago, it's the best of times right now. The worst of times are coming more and more as the student population drops, if it does drop. And I'm quite sure the valuation will keep coming. So that's the handouts I've got for you. I'll remind everybody that this is a work session for an exploratory committee. As we go down through our agenda, we will not be taking questions or comments until the end. And then we'll take 15 minutes questions if you have any. You all set?
No, I just have a question, because I'm sorry, I wasn't there for one of the meetings, and there's a lot of papers here. And I was just wondering, how do we address these questions that are from the from the...
We'll be coming at the next meeting.
Oh, so it's not coming at this
No,
meeting?
not this
Okay,
meeting.
just
That would
wanted
be
to know
on
that.
the answer. We gave those to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll bring those home, we'll look at them, and then at the next work session, we'll go through those. Is that fair?
And Leah, thank you for
You're welcome. You might need
spearheading
more than
this.
one session.
Yeah, glancing at it, it's very thorough, very thorough job.
Thoughtful.
Did you have a copy of the one that was done in 2014?
Yeah, they're added, the first book, 325 pictures, they're on the sheet already.
Okay, one of the people we're going to check around to find out the availability of administrators for part-time work, how do we do?
I was not able to get in touch with the former superintendent who I had a contact with, I'm just not, yeah,
We'll keep
I'm
going.
not tracking down.
Number 3, Kelly Scott, a resident attendant formerly of Newry that spoke at our first meeting. I asked her if she would come back and give a quick explanation and answer any questions that the board has around what Newry's experience was. And the floor is yours, Kelly. Thank you.
Kelly Scott. New member, I've been a few years now. I have a son at Fairfield High School. He's in 9th grade. I lived and I actually worked as deputy town clerk for the town of Newry when they went through their withdrawal process. I don't know how quick this is going to be because anything specific, or you want me to just start with like how they started, or there are a lot of differences between the town of Newry and the town of Ebden. Town of Newry houses Sunday River Ski Resort. So we had probably a population of 330, I think, on our registered voters list, but we had approximately over 3,500 taxable properties. A lot of them, the little McMansions up at the ski resort. The town had, I think at the time that they started looking at this, less than 30 students. I think they figured they were paying close to, I don't know, over $100,000 per kid.
Was it a regional school or
Yeah.
just, what's the system?
So it was Telstar, and they actually did not go into the regional school district. Back when Maine did that, so they stayed an SAD. They were SAD 44. There were 4 towns that were going to that school district. The folks who started that withdrawal effort, they were concerned more about the level of and the quality of education to what Newry was paying. They also, Newry also had a different caveat. I had to call the town administrator to get a history lesson because this was 10 years ago. Newry and Fry Island, I don't know what year it was, but they were excluded out of the school funding, share funding formula. So Fry Island and Newry were paying 100% of their valuation for their kids. And as I understand it, most school districts, there is a percentage of valuation versus how many students are going to the school. Am I correct?
So you mentioned the cost versus quality of education. What did they use for key indicators to determine what the quality of education would be?
Well, this group that started this process, they were unhappy that the amount of money, the amount of tax dollars that were going to their school district, they felt that they could take that $100,000, they could send their kids to private schools, they could tuition them to Gould, that was their premise for why they started their school withdrawal. After they got into the thick of it, realized it's not that simple. You can't withdraw that money from a school district and just send, you can't be a parent and be like, go to the town and say, oh, okay, can I have that money to send my kid to Gould? So that's kind of the difference with Newry. Um, and the other difference with Nuri actually has a really low mill rate. The taxes are not high there. We owned 20 acres in tree growth, which gave us a little bit of a break. But we had a house and 3 outbuildings, and I think we paid probably, I don't know, $1,200 a year. So, I mean, they already did have low taxes. Their big thing was just, they didn't feel like the kids were getting, they felt like the town Nuri wasn't getting the bang for their buck for what they were paying in. So that's how that started.
How did it end?
So I think it was roughly 2 years that it, and like I said, the differences were Nuri paid a lot of money to that school district. If they would have taken that money out, I mean, it would have decimated it, absolutely. How it ended was they did end up being able to get into this cost share formula because Nuri was paying 100%. So they did end up getting all the towns to vote for them to slowly go into a cost share program to lighten what they were paying to the school district. The school board at that time, when they started this, Nuri had the less amount of students, so their school board was weighted. So they only had 2 school board members, and their school board members, when they voted, it was I can't tell you exactly what the weight vote was, but the towns that had the most kids, they had the heaviest weight on their vote. So that was the other thing that they compromised on, was they changed the school board to be, they added a member to their school board, to Nuri's school board, so they ended up with 3, and then they changed it so it was 1 vote, 1 school board member, so everyone was weighted evenly. So that was a compromise there. So those 2 compromises right there was what prevented, the town ended up, they voted not to withdraw. It actually never even went to a vote to actually withdraw. The 4 towns did have to vote to approve this cost share formula that went slowly over the years to reduce the tax burden on Nuri. And the 4 towns did end up voting for it, only after 2 years of showing how much money could actually come out of the school district was what prompted it to vote. The other change was all 4 towns got to vote on each town's school board member. So Bethel, Greenwood, Woodstock, all the 4 towns were able to, so your ballot, when you voted for your school board members, all 4 towns voted for those school board members. Which I think is awesome anyways. I was on the school board for 2 years, and I know as a school board member, when you're a school board member, you need to vote, and your decisions need to be made in the best interest of the school district, not your town. I wasn't on the school board, and I wasn't like voting and making my decisions based on what was the best for the town of Nuri. When you're a school board member, you're trained to, you make your votes, and you listen to, your superintendent, you listen to the lawyers, and you make your choice based on the best interest of the school district, not your constituents. School board members are not selected. So there were compromises there, but I can tell you it was a long, costly process for the town. It was also costly for the school district because they had to hire their own attorneys. We had to hire attorneys, and it was divisive amongst the towns. So that was my experience with it. I gotta give you guys accolades. Are you just self-formed committee? Were you appointed?
Appointed by the sign.
Were you?
I think that's half and half, actually. there was, they asked us if we wanted, but we volunteered first. And we said, what committee are you interested in? And we volunteered, and then, someone gave us a call and said, are you interested? So, that's how that
I'm
happened.
gonna give you accolades for having all this in public. I guess if you're appointed that's not, then you have to, but I know that we used to, there was a term for the committee that formed kind of privately. They never talked about any of this in public. What they did is they had a petition. They got a petition that asked the selectmen to form a withdrawal committee and put it to a vote. And they got the signatures they needed, and they did it to the selectmen, and the selectmen approved a vote to happen to form the actual committee. The committee that has to be made up of those 4 members, that's by state law. And the first amount of money they had to throw at it was $50,000. The town ended up voting to form that committee, and then that's when it was probably close to 2 years. I can't tell you the exact dollar amount the town spent on attorneys to go through this, but it was quite a bit. And I know the school district as well had to hire an attorney to deal with it as well. So.
Just one question about the $50,000. What was that again? Can you say that one more time so I get it? So in order to form the committee itself, the investigative committee.
No, not investigative committee, an
No.
actual withdrawal committee.
With the withdrawal committee itself, what was the $50,000 for?
The 50,000, because once you form an actual withdrawal committee, you need to hire an independent attorney who deals with school withdrawal. They could not, their town attorney could not advise the town on what to do. They had to hire, I believe they hired, it was Dan Stockford, not sure what firm he was from, but they had to hire him, Dan Stockford. So that attorney needed to become that withdrawal committee's advisor, and he was the help. He was the attorney that helped the conversations between the committee to the school district. And that was the first amount of money that was raised. And they raised more after that.
When you say raise, you mean did that come out of the town budget, or was it a separate fund that somehow was raised?
So when I talked to the town administrator, the one thing she couldn't remember is I believe what they did is they voted to form the committee. It was slim. It was a 82 to 60 to form an actual withdrawal committee. I believe, we think in our memory that they had to do a special town meeting to allocate funds from wherever, undesignated, whatever, because once I think the committee got started, they realized, because they were fresh out of the water with this as well, they realized they were going to need legal advice on this. So I believe they held a special town meeting, raised $50,000 for legal costs at that point. It went on so long that I do believe the next town meeting that they had, they actually did have a special line item for attorney costs for the withdrawal effort. So,
The petition has to be started by a resident, correct?
I think any sort of petition, if my memory serves. Yes. If it's a petition that needs to go to a town vote, it needs to be started by a resident of the town, and obviously needs to be signed by registered voters of the town. And you have to have so many depending on the last year's gubernatorial election or the percentage of that. I can't tell you how much it ended up costing them. I can't remember how much SAD 44 paid in legal fees.
That petition is pretty specific as well, so that needs to be written up really by a lawyer, doesn't it? I mean, the verbiage in a petition has to be very specific and very precise, otherwise it gets challenged in court and.
Absolutely, and I'm not sure it was, like I said, it was a group of residents, I don't think any of them were an attorney, I'm not sure if they consulted anybody, because, I mean, any resident can get a petition together and be like, hey, I want to bring this to the select board, we're gonna try to force your hand, and, you know, this is what we want you to do. I wish I could have got my hands on a copy of that petition. I know it was, it was just basically asking the select board to vote to, or asking the town to, it was asking the town to vote to form a withdrawal committee from SAD 44. I don't have the exact verbiage. Whether or not it was, I mean, we're a small town, so whether or not it was written to the precise, it was never challenged. But they basically, the petition asked them to, for the town to accept the petition to call a vote, for the town to vote to form a committee to explore withdrawing from SAD 44. And I remember it did go to the select board. The town clerk checked all the signatures. Everything was proper. It went to the select board. The selectmen voted to let it go to a town vote. So they scheduled a special vote, just like any other vote, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. paper ballot, and it passed 82 to 60. And then after that, once they started meeting, they figured out that they had to raise money to get attorney to start talking. Because of course, SAD 44 did dig their feet. They dug their heels right into the ground. There was a lot of money on the table, so they in turn got their own attorney.
Let me ask you a question, just to wrap my head around this. The money that we pay to the board or the school board is based on the state's regulation on property valuations, correct?
That's part of
But
it.
you guys were able to adjust it and share the cost evenly amongst the towns. Is that what you're saying? The towns voted to change how much they paid into that school tax? So they went around that system with the state regulators.
Well, they did, because most of all the schools in the state of Maine are based on a percentage of your valuation
Right.
versus how many students that you're sending to a school
But you
district.
got around that somehow.
No, we didn't get around it. Nuri was excluded from that in a LD that happened in I don't even know what year. Nuri and Fry Island were paying 100% valuation for their kids. They weren't, and most, I gotta say, I don't know the figures, I think most towns and schools, it's 85, 15 or something like that, and Nuri was not that. So, they just wanted to be treated fair. So that's why they felt it was worth to spend the money.
There's two parts of that. There's one, valuation on students, and then it's the EPS, or what I call Article 13 in the school budget, where the things the state won't pay falls into that category. And right now, we're 45-55 with our valuation of the students.
45, 55?
So it's a valuation and another. I can, if I have a little thing, I can explain that 877,000, that additional EPS. So basically, the additional funding is the funding necessary to cover the cost of educating students in RSU74. The state has a funding formula based on their interpretation of what it should cost to educate our students. Essential programs and services, that's the EPS. I'm learning this too. So unfortunately, because we're rural, our class sizes are smaller than larger districts. For example, the EPS says the teacher to student ratio for secondary should be roughly 1 to 16. One teacher for 16 students, but our district we're about 1 to 10. To offer certain courses, we need well preparing students for post-secondary experiences. So if we were limited to 1 teacher for 16 students, that would only allow 12 teachers. So it's really complicated. In order to offer 4 years of English, our district needs roughly 2.5 English teachers. Right now we have 3, but 1 teaches electives as well. Math is on course for this as well, because now the state requires 4 years of math. So that's roughly half of our state allocated teachers. So the state allows us to have lower ratios, but at a local expense. And I can email this to anybody because I'm still wrapping my head around it. This local additional expense is funded by towns based on 45% evaluation, 55% enrollment. These percentages, this is a real kicker, were approved back in the 1960s. All right, so it's been a minute. The additional funds are calculated by subtracting from the budget created by the school administration and approved by the board the amount the state is allocated for the district based on EPS and our district's enrollment and the required local funding. Each May, the residents are notified and there's a budget meeting, and much like a town meeting where the cost centers are voted on in the town. And then the voters in each town approve it. And it's a separate written ballot. It's cast by voters to approve the additional local. So that $877,000 that we're seeing, that is approved by the town. And that is to cover the additional cost because the state is bare minimum, and it costs more. So it is, like Paul said, 45% evaluation, 55% enrollment. And it's confusing, so.
Mr. Joe?
I had to ask a lot of people.
Any other questions for Kelly? Kelly, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
And I again apologize for not calling you last week to tell you we weren't meeting.
Oh,
I hope you didn't drive over here.
no.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for your time. And also, I just wanted to mention, the town of Andover, kind of similar in size to Emden, has ponds, stuff like that. They withdrew from SAT 44, close to about the time Nuri started their process. I think their big thing was they had a little small local school, and it was on the chopping block by the school district. So they did end up voting to withdraw. I guess it's not going well now. So, if we were wanting to reach out for their 2 cents on, what they've been going through, that's a thought. That town is a little bit more similar to Emden than Nuri is. I think the big issue with Emden, do I think the taxes are high here? Yes, I do. But Emden doesn't have a big employer. Big employers are the ones that really kind of suck up, a lot of the cost. And we don't have that here. But I guess I got the floor. I'll put my 2 cents. No, we don't want to pay higher taxes, but I also don't want the first thing to go on the chopping block is any money to a school district. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Yeah, very much.
Okay. Available help from the state. We're not going to get anything from the state until we pass the first one. That's why the lady Partridge, I think it's Pamela Partridge, does not return anybody's phone calls or.
We can't hear you.
Is there,
This fan, sorry.
What's that thing?
Too
Can you shut it off?
no, I went to find, to shut it off and they blocked the shut-off box, so I can't get in there.
Talking to you.
Yeah, Wayne, I could call Wayne, when I call Wayne,
He's busy.
just speak up.
We need to go through the petition process and the first vote before the Department of Education will send help to the four-person committee to work through to the second vote. And so I did have success to talk with Paula Gravel at the state. She had permission to talk to me. And 40 years of business, I've never spoken to a person that understood her job and was capable of answering any question like she was. I had to take my hat off. You could have talked to her for 2 days about all of the formulas and how things are put together. The two things that, important things that I ended at our Zoom call, it was the population of each town needs to be figured around what's in this document. This is the document that is certified by the superintendent of schools, and these are the numbers that the formula uses to get our state aid. So if for next year, Emden is in for 82.5 students. Why the 0.5? It's because it's an average of 2 years. I thought it was 3, and I couldn't figure out how they kept coming up with the 0.5s. And then I found out it was 2, so now I know why it's 0.5. But if that 82.5, if 10 kids move out of Emden, it still stays at 82.5. If 20 kids come into Emden, they have to abide by this formula and that amount of money. That was the first thing that I learned from her. The second thing, in her job over the years, she's spoken to numbers of people like me calling up around the withdrawal. And the first question out of her mouth was, has Emden sat down with the other towns and asked for help on that 45-55? So the 877,000 gets cut down for us, so we don't get that much of a cost. So with that, I explained to her what happened in 2014-15 when, after the last movement to withdraw, they all sat down. You were around him. Were you, Eric? And what I was told by Chuck and some of the information he gave me, the school board agreed on a better formula for Emden, but the vote of the 4 towns rejected it. Where in Kelly's position, when the towns voted, they voted to assist me. Now, in 14 or 15, whatever year it was, that did not happen from the information I've got. Now, moving on to number 5, Chuck set up a meeting for Wayne and I to sit down with RSU74. Kevin was there. It was a very cordial meeting and a very nice meeting. with everybody involved. No one could really place that meeting, that vote. Have you found out anything since that meeting? You haven't, okay, well, I know from the packages that I was given by Chuck, there was a real heavy amount of time put in to help Emden, but it got voted down, all right? It didn't happen anyway, so we remained 45-55. Now going back to Paula Graff, she said it's when we get, if we ever get from the petition to the first vote to actually having a full member group to work for the next vote, the state is going to try to encourage, again, to get a better share of the 877,000 versus withdrawal. But that will happen after a petition, after the first vote, if it's approved. Nothing will be done with the Department of Education other than talking to Paul Gravel. So now go back to RSU74 meeting. It was a very nice meeting. It was blatantly honest from the superintendent. He didn't want to lose the students. He didn't want a withdrawal. He said that if there was a withdrawal, and this is the important part, he still did not want to lose the students. And he said that, I asked the question, would you be our superintendent, what's the next thing?
Superintendent agreement? Superintendent agreement?
No, it's for the special needs. Special education. Special education, and then the busing. And he said that he would be very open to a 10-year contract to take care of that.
So he doesn't want to lose any of the students.
No.
He's willing to negotiate.
Yeah, and he didn't, he really didn't want any part of Madison getting involved.
So a couple of things. One is who, do the other towns have to approve a 10-year contract? And
I assume the school board would.
well, the school board, but the school board would have to approve the formula change as well. But that doesn't mean it's going to happen, right? So my question is, if the school board says, yeah, we'd love to have them for 10 years, does it, at X number of dollars, does it have to go out to all of the other towns and be approved? If North Anson voted it down or Solon voted it down, does that mean it's dead in the water?
I have no idea. That's something that will be taken care of in between the second vote and the third vote. I can't answer that question.
Kelly, do you have an opinion on that? 'Cause I see you shaking your head.
No, I don't think so, because, so, once you have a withdrawal agreement, and it's agreed upon with the school district, or whatever school district you're thinking of, at that point, then you go to that town vote with this withdrawal agreement that you guys have hammered out, and the town votes, okay, let's go for it. That's it. You're your own school district. I don't
Yeah,
think
but
any of the other towns have a say in what you're
My
gonna
question
do.
wasn't preventing us from getting out of the district. My question was, if the school board agrees to take the students from Emden at whatever they set a tuition at, does that have to be approved by the other towns? Or can the school board actually negotiate that
You guys know?
and make it binding? Can they negotiate it and make it binding?
That's all what's written in your withdrawal agreement.
No, once we're out, we're out.
But you need to have a withdrawal agreement before you're out.
Yeah, it would be written in the
You need to have
withdrawal.
it.
There needs to be a contract from another school that's gonna take us?
You need to
have to-
have a contract for, so, I can give you guys this, I made a copy of one of the very first drafts that the actual withdrawal committee, if my memory serves, this was just a draft, it wasn't anything that was ever voted on or anything, but it has like all the different things that were put into it that had to go, this is what we want, has to go to the school district. This is what we'd like to have. We'd like this term. The other thing was debt, because when you're in a school district, you have debt.
Yeah.
If the school district bought buses, or if they bought whatever, you gotta pay off your first portion of the
Sure.
debt if you wanna get out. So this agreement had to be agreed upon from the formal committee and the school district. This gets agreed upon between the town and the school district. Town says, okay, we like this agreement, we're gonna vote, we're voting to come out. I don't think the other towns have any say in anything.
I think I can help you.
Tuition costs figured into that?
First off,
Agreement has,
Tuition
yep,
costs? Okay.
like, it spells it all out. This is what we're gonna do, every student's tenure,
First
non-exclusive
off,
tuition.
they can't stop the kids, the students to go on tuition.
Right.
They can.
Right, I agree.
The only thing that 74 of 59 would have to do is with a vote of their school board to assume the responsibilities of the superintendent and busing and special.
So the school board is authorized to negotiate the cost per student, tuition and all of the ancillary,
Tuition, don't leave that out. It's just
Okay.
the ancillary stuff. Right now, according to what I've been told by the state, every school district has desks, has room, and has places to educate. So the transferring on superintendent agreements, it's a free-for-all. Anybody can go anywhere now. It's not like.
but not at a set cost, can they?
Excuse me?
Isn't the cost negotiated?
We have I passed that out.
Tuition right there,
Right there.
That doesn't mean that they have to take us at 11,000. That means that it's 11,000 that the state pays, if I'm not mistaken. They may say, you know what, we're not gonna take you at 11,000, we're gonna take you at 25,000.
Well, that was something that was thrown out at the last meeting by Mark Campbell, and I said, whoa, wait a minute. Are you telling me that what you just said you wanted to do for us for 10 years, under a tuition and assistance from you, and you pay for it, now you're gonna tell me you can control that tuition amount of it? And he just grinned at me. And
So you did meet with Mark Campbell, and I thought you said that when you met with him, that there was an agreement
Yeah, I thought you
that
agreed.
the tuition was a particular amount that SPED would be paid for it in buses. Did you say that just now?
what I just said to you.
I thought you said that, yeah.
What I just said to you.
Yeah.
He was in favor of taking the children if we withdrew. That's the first thing.
Okay.
Then he said that he would supply under a contract the ancillary things we need.
Buses, special
Buses,
needs,
Special ed.
Special ed superintendent.
superintendent, at no additional cost.
He didn't say that.
Right.
That's additional,
That
that's additional.
has to be agreed upon by that school district during that negotiation before, in that withdrawal agreement, before anybody's gonna vote on it here.
But he didn't say that in your conversations thus far.
No, he did not say that,
Okay.
but that's the facts.
Okay.
That is the facts. We have another school district that's willing to talk to us too. All of that stuff happens between the first vote and the second vote. And it has to be ticky-tied together, or the big deal in Augusta won't sign off on it. And that's why lots of these things take 2 years and 3 years, because they do not get it ticky-tied to get together properly, so they'll endorse it.
So from a practical standpoint, both cost and time, would it make sense that we, not we, but that the town, our town officials negotiate assistance? I think you said that was done in Bethel, right? So, in Newry, so
That
why,
was after the vote.
After the first vote.
but why would we not try
Because
to
you gotta
negotiate?
ask the people of the town of Emden what they wanna do, Larry. We can't sit here and do that, or nor can the Board of Selectmen.
We don't have the authority to do that. The next,
The Board of
People
Selectmen
the
have
people
no,
of the town of Emden have to decide what they wanna do. And
But we
that's
have
gonna
to
take
provide
the
the
first vote.
information, correct?
yeah,
I'm not talking
Before they make that
withdrawal.
decision, we have to have all the information down.
That's correct.
Yeah.
I'm not talking withdrawal, Paul. I'm talking, if in fact the school board can negotiate cost per student, why would we not use that as a first step prior to withdrawing from the district?
The only thing you can, no,
The way I understand it is the state tells you what your tuition rate's gonna be.
Yes.
And then you could potentially top RSU 74 and say, can you make it better for us?
Yeah, that's what I'm
But the
saying.
state will not give you tuition rate until you've
the
gone
first
through the
vote.
process.
Exactly.
And they set the tuition rate based on what Emden can afford.
And then you go back to what you dealt with a few years ago, all the towns had to vote to make that,
Okay.
so what's in a school district. And I did read through this, and yes, the Department of Education, there was a lot of state statutes, cited in here on how much the tuition rate for secondary students, exclusive of students receiving special education, shall be the rate calculated pursuant to section 14664A1 of Title 20A. And Department of Education sets final tuition rates during the fiscal year of which the tuition costs are incurred.
So that's non-negotiable with the board.
what's not
Not,
negotiable?
I think it's two separate things.
Well, they can, they can set the rate, but they can also say, we'll, as a school board, we'll redistribute that rate so that North Anson, Solon, and New Portland pick up part of that cost. They're still gonna subsidize at
what
the state
point-
rate.
At what point in this?
I don't know.
All right,
I
what-
don't know.
The thing is, you cannot renegotiate anything until you get between the two votes.
Okay, all right.
That's when that happens. Prior to that, anything that you agree upon, Larry, has to go to a vote of all of the towns. And that, I can almost guarantee you, that's not going to pass the muster until the first vote.
Okay.
After the first vote, people are going to stand up and take notice, okay, they might leave.
If the vote is,
And
yeah,
then
we want to
they will-
continue.
They
Right.
might sit down and properly negotiate and try to get their constituents to vote it through. But there's a lot of maybes in there.
But first you have to have a petition with a particular number of people signing the petition.
60, 50,
50, only 50 people, only 100 people voted, right?
10%.
Oh, 10, so I have?
So the petition is 10%.
Okay, so first we have the petition, and then it goes from the petition to the next phase.
The next thing is a lot more work to
Yes.
get everything tied together, to speak to the people in the community, mailings, town halls and smaller rooms, so everybody understands what's taking place, and at no point in time am I in favor of anything between vote number 1 and vote number 2. If we can't ticky-tack a good program together for the students of Emden, we just don't withdraw. That's it. You know, and I went through that at that meeting, and you heard me say, I am not in favor of any student in the town of Emden being treated poorly or not educated, not the same, but better when we get done with this. And the biggest thing is, that concerns me, is how, if we pulled out and we went on tuition, scared me a little bit about the tuition rate, but I think the state will handle that for us. I don't believe the state will allow 74 to play with that, but I might be wrong. But it's just so important how 74 will handle the $1.2 million that we will be saving and they will be losing. How does that
I
happen?
guarantee I'm the same.
Not, we don't have the
Well,
floor.
there's one thing you need to consider is the special education in it. It's 21%.
You gotta get your chance at the end of this.
There's no savings.
Everybody with me on this?
I understand what you
I
said.
hear what you're saying, yeah.
And it's complicated now, but it's gonna get more complicated between vote number 1 and vote number 2.
Well, that's where the real numbers are coming.
But I really could not encourage the town of Emden anymore right now than to go through the petition and the first vote. Because nobody within the 4 towns is gonna pay any attention to us until they think we really might leave. Then we might get some consideration on cost. Now, I'm not on social media, but my friends are. And anybody out there that thinks I'm going to harm a child for $1, you're wrong. But right now, we have an opportunity to get the same education for a lot less money. And to me, that's something we should do. We should look into after that first vote. If you can't put it together, if someone won't, you'll have the chance to vote it down. That's, and I think they put this withdrawal system together, committee, complicated, but right. It's the right way to do
I
it.
think the thing that gets people all worked up and everything is the first vote is not a vote to withdraw.
No.
It's not a vote to withdraw at all. It's a vote to decide, put a 4-person committee, which includes a parent, et cetera, a school board member, a committee of 4 to then do the legwork, get the actual dollars and cents, the actual tuition savings or costs, any kind of negotiation for busing and special ed. All those real numbers will come out in between, and then the town has yet another vote to say, yes, we want to go with this deal, or no, we don't. The first vote is just a vote to move forward and continue the process, to look into the numbers, the dollars and cents. Nobody can sit here and quote $1 of savings or $1 of expenses.
All day.
You can't quote them. Okay? I can speak on that. The thing is, you can't get an actual number. You can say approximately and approximately this. But until we get to that next stage, we won't have any information. Is that correct? So, the next vote is not a vote to actually withdraw. It's a vote to look into it further and get the numbers to see whether it's feasible. Will we save money? Will we not? But obviously, nobody sitting at this table wants the kids out of your RSU74. We just want a better deal. It's a great school district. Don't want to leave.
Anything else from the committee? Well, we got more agenda items, but I just.
Yeah, I think you've done a good job dragging all of these numbers together. And I realize
Yes.
they're not concrete because there's no way to get them concrete at this point. But I think some of these numbers are eye-opening. And thank you for putting the time in. I appreciate that.
So you understand, to me, this thing is broken in Augusta.
Yes.
That's where it's broken. Exactly. They should put us in a position like this. And I have a,
What is it that you expect Augusta to do to take us out of that position? What's your idea about that? You said Augusta's broken, but,
Yeah.
you know, things happen. What is broken in Augusta?
Valuation.
Valuation.
All about the valuation. Why should one community pay $26,000 a child to educate them and
That's
another
really
one pay?
misleading, you need to stop that, that's misinformation.
It is.
Yes, you're taking, if we had 150
Whoa!
kids here, it'd be the same money. No.
No.
don't
It's
worry.
not misinformation.
I'm going to ask you to be quiet until the end of the meeting, and
It's misleading.
I appreciate you doing that. Anything else?
No. You're good.
You think we're okay? I was going to say, I'm going to meet with somebody from way back in my time that's on that committee and see what we could do, if we can get some traction in changing what's going on.
From the education committee?
Well, if you know people on a committee where you can get some traction to change things, is that what you're saying?
Yes, get a bill before the legislature to change 1962. Correct.
That makes sense to do that.
Well,
But
we'll
how
make
is
a
that
try.
going
I
to-
can't make any guarantees.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna take a long time to get a bill in the legislature and have it voted, all those kinds of, do the
It can
lobbying
be done,
that you
it can
need
be
to
done
do to
next
get it.
year. It can't be done this year because cloture's already been done,
Yeah.
but it can be done next year.
At one of the meetings, one of the ladies in the, said 40 municipalities have left, have been joined. I remember that number. And I know of many looking and trying to get out and trying to figure out how to get out. So they should set up and take notice.
Absolutely, that's an eye-opener for the state level. Number 6.
And now the pending valuation calculated in the state. This is this document right here. I opened it up with this, where we're just climbing. 270, 346, 436. I believe the next one is going to be 600 as they continue the revaluation. That's this. And I got this from our assessor. And this is what she has to send in to the state. This came from Shirley Bartlett, our assessor. She got this from 2526. And I go to page 4, and those are the numbers that we're looking at. We jumped from the school budget. Yeah, this past year we had to pay, I think, $1,277,000. Next year we're gonna have to pay $1,301,000. And I'm sure Article 13 will go up from the $877,000. I'm sure. You guys got any work on that done?
So that's based on a 3-year rolling average, is that correct?
The student, no. This is what is based on a 3-year.
That's the 3-year rolling average. So is there any projection of, because the evaluation of the town has doubled, is that correct? That hasn't shown up yet because it's a lagging indicator, is that correct?
That's correct.
So when does that hit?
I don't know.
That would be in 2 years? Or
Right now, for next year, it's 286 million in this document.
but it's almost double that in the actual evaluation, right?
I'm guessing they must have taken 22, 23, and 24 to 25.
Yeah, I think one drops off and another one comes on, so it'd be 26, 27 before you see the total increase.
If you look on that page, this is something too that I learned. The mill rate that is for the mill rate, the calculation. The other were A's and 6.1.
Problem.
Okay, answer 6.1, yeah.
That's it.
That's an end of the report, what I was saying. Your expectation.
The 6.10 is the ceiling. And we're at 4.55. We've got to get to 6.30 before we're going to get any help. And our 4.55 is going to go down as our valuation goes up and our students go down. That we're no hope to get any help. So that's one other thing that Paul Gravel told me. If we form a municipal school district, we would not get any more money because of our mill rate. But every school district in the state gets something. Even if the mill rate is at 4.5, we would get what we would have to pay our way on the 1.3, but some money would filter into our municipal school district, and that usually, she said, for the special ed department. And we have to ask for that. We have to go down and ask, we need help on special ed. And she said she does not know of any municipal school district in the state that does not get some help. That's what she told me. And she says that will get ironed out in between 2 and 3 for your first years, what you're going to get. I can't tell you how impressed I was with that woman.
She seemed to
She
know a lot.
was unbelievable. Any question I asked, she had spreadsheets, and she was something else. Okay, any questions on that for the community? Path forward. I think next week, we need to all come in prepared for what you've learned, to answer these questions as a committee. Lots of the questions from 2014, and probably they're all built together. Thank you very much for doing that. Oh, wow, you got a lot of them.
Yes, you know.
79.
So,
Yeah, I didn't, and so that first paragraph was saying that there might be a little repetition. There's also -4 because I miscounted. Like it goes from like 35 to 39 something. But yeah, the overarching themes are written out, and there might be a little repetition, but I didn't interpret anything after 25. I didn't really interpret. I just cleaned up a little bit, but I left as is because that's how the town sent it, and I didn't feel that was my place.
Unfortunately, as we go through these, I went through all of 2014's, and a number of them are going to be, you'll see between goal and goal 2. You can't answer those questions until you get to that point. And those are the questions that when you go to vote the second time, if we ever get to that, those questions all have to be answered, or if you can't answer them, you shouldn't vote for them. Simple as that.
that's what I wanted to have you answer, clarify for me, because unless the people of the town can have those answers, I don't think that we maybe even should go to vote 1, which leads me to this. I need to resign from this committee because I should be on that side of the table as a representative of the town. I really don't feel that I can evaluate the withdrawal fairly because from the information that I have so far from being in the committee, it doesn't work for me. So that gives you an easier coming to a 4-person committee when I they're not gonna do. But I will be over there,
Thank you for coming.
yes.
We appreciate you.
Then, once these, we take a shot at them. I spoke to the chairman of the board of selectmen today. He will, if we feel that we should go to a petition, he will get the petition drawn up. It will be his job as a board of selectmen. And then we'll go and see if we can get 51 signatures on the petition. And at that point, we have educating the town, we have mailings that need to go out. And, so that's the path forward, and I'll get an agenda out. Is everybody free for next Thursday night? No. How about the following Thursday?
Yes.
Larry?
Yeah, I'm cheap and easy. I can be here.
Cheap and
Okay.
easy.
Hopefully,
Can't be
hopefully
both.
Bruce will be back. So we'll have five.
What do you go by some of these questions? Should we,
I think you should go down through them yourself and answer what you've learned since we've started this process.
Yeah, I'm writing with some of these questions, a lot of them are like decision Board of Education. I think the superintendent has to make it. Like, what do they do if we pull out? We don't know what the school is doing.
I haven't read them yet, but
Okay.
that, you know, just go through them and
How would it go administrative workload?
we'll do the best we can.
Okay,
How's that?
all right. We got the ones on
We
there.
then need to put together one man to all of the people in the community, and what we've done, what we found. And let them know that a petition will be coming. And if the four of us vote that we want to do that, Chuck's all in favor of moving forward. So, with that said, questions, please raise your hand.
I don't know if this is so much of a question, as it is a comment. I think what you need to do is just get the petition started. Get the petition started. You guys' time is worth a lot of energy. You're not gonna get any concrete numbers until this committee forms.
Right.
I think you just need to try to get the petition going. If you can get enough signatures, the selectmen will let it go to a town vote. I say let it go to a town vote. I mean, for everybody that I talk to, I don't know if they're gonna vote to even form the committee.
Okay.
So, your time and effort, and then before a vote, there's gonna be a public hearing. And I think the one question that I would ask at a public hearing is, how much, you're gonna need a lawyer. So I wanna know, how much money are we gonna need to raise to pay for this lawyer to go through this process? That's my big thing. That's more money the town of Emden's gonna spend to go through this. And it's $50,000 that Nuri spent. I kept thinking it killed me. I'm like, that's $50,000 I could have bought some books or some sports equipment or what have you. So you guys' time is valuable. I say just let it go. Let it go to the town. See what they want to do. That's all.
I think we need to send something out to the town to let them know in the mail what's going on.
I think you can give them the numbers of what's happening right now, and then just, if you can get the support on a petition, get the support to go to a vote, have a public hearing, and have all the questions, everybody can come out and, go from there.
But do you think the numbers though they have now can be misleading? Is what I've heard and then what I looked into. It doesn't. It's a lot of fear tactics. If we could save $1 million, then no, thanks. That's my one concern about using numbers, is there's no numbers yet.
are you saying that numbers can be interpreted in many different ways?
Yes. Yeah.
Statistically, that's very true. The way you interpret a number is so important. And when I was looking at the numbers, I also felt that the numbers could be interpreted in more than one way. And that it really takes someone more time than I wanted to spend in doing another analysis of that. So that would be something for someone to look at. Yeah, you looked at them too?
I know, I was on the committee back in 2014.
Yeah.
And one reason why we never went through with the withdrawal is because when the petition went around, numbers were thrown out that weren't accurate. And once we looked into it, those numbers were way off, and it wasn't worth withdrawing from the district. And it was also said that if we withdraw from the district, it will hurt RSU74. Even if we bring our kids back, they're still losing money, and they're gonna have cuts.
And that's the thing that's why I'm withdrawing from the committee, because the one thing that RS74 provides to the community is not only the school, but there's a lot more there. And I think I'm on the wrong side of the table, but as I see it, as a community, we kind of like want to forward our children as best we can. That's our job as people who live in a community together. So I can't be on the committee that doesn't want to do that anymore.
We found out it costs to educate the kids.
It does. It does.
I think there's another way to save money on taxes.
And I don't even know if we're saving money on taxes, because it seems like the taxes are gonna be the same no matter what.
How is the committee going to get this information out to the masses of the town to consider signing the petition or it just seems like in the beginning when the newsletter went out, it reached 100 people or other emails. That system's not working, it's not getting out there. You can't just put it out on a sign in front of the building, not enough people driving by, there's only 100 and something people signed up for the town. It seems like we have to send these question and answers out to the town in another form, whether it be mail, which is costly. But it seems like we've got to reach more of the population of the town with these question and answers and the information gathered so far before we should really consider having anybody vote, because you're going to get such a small percentage of people that are aware of what's going on.
Okay, thank you. Good report. Anybody else?
So I keep hearing, and I've heard it for a while, and I've read it on Facebook as well, that there's a lot of question about the numbers. And somehow I think we need to come up with a consensus on what those numbers really are before we continue a whole lot more, because the pros and the cons are going to be fighting over this, and nobody's going to get the facts that they need. So if you say it's $10,000 and I say it's $15,000, what's the number? And without that number, without some kind of agreement on, yeah, this is what it looks like, there's going to be this Facebook battle, there's going to be this behind the scenes sabotage or whatever, because nobody's going to have the numbers.
The final numbers will come out between the second and third vote. You know, that's the final, that's
First and second. Okay, all right.
You gotta get through that first vote, talk with Augusta, talk with the other RSUs that are willing to work with us.
But are you going to have a public hearing before, a public meeting, not a hearing? You're going to have a public meeting prior to the first vote? Yeah.
And that's before attorneys are hired,
Yes.
Yeah, before anything.
Before any
or
money's
any money
spent.
is spent.
No money is spent until after that first vote, which was different than what happened in 2014. I think the town, I don't know what they spent, but they
We spend quite a bit of money.
They raised $50,000. I don't know what this, I remember, I think I remember another 50,000 that they raised. If I had the first opinion, and then they brought another opinion, you would have owned the whole thing. Right.
So I'm puzzled. You said that the numbers that were presented weren't accurate, and then you found out that
So-
there was less of a savings or no savings. I'm
So
curious.
what happened was when they went around to have people sign a petition, they were throwing out numbers, you'll save X amount of money in taxes. But you can't get any numbers until you have the town has voted to start the withdrawal process. The state will not even work with you. So once that process started, we started getting the numbers, and the people that are having the petition signed were throwing out numbers. I'm not sure where they got them from. They weren't even close.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
That's very helpful. I want to throw something out to you guys just because I want to do it, okay? An issue came up about $50,000 for a lawyer, and it could cost more, and we're worried about spending $50,000. I'd recommend that some of you people that are sitting right in this room, why don't you go to a Buildings and Grounds Committee meeting for the RSU74 and look at the fact that they want to spend about $100,000 in Garrett Skank this next year, an old relic of a school. They want to spend $250,000 on a building for storage at the high school grounds. That's a lot of tax money. $250,000 is
That got
proposed.
voted down.
Okay, well, I didn't know that. But I heard all these numbers come up, and I'm like, where's all this money coming?
Part of the committees, we get together and we talk about what we would like to do, and we discuss it, but that doesn't mean it's gonna happen. We voted it.
Oh, are you part of that?
I am.
You weren't there when I was there. then.
No, I wasn't, but I was at the last one.
But I just saw these numbers coming out about $100,000 here, 170. The school security upgrade is
Once again,
huge.
you don't know what the numbers really are. On both sides of
Right,
this.
'cause they all get thrown
You don't know
out.
what numbers we're
It's
hearing.
like, wow.
You don't know what's true and what isn't.
The security upgrade, that's really priceless here, protecting your kids in school.
I would spend
There's no-
money to help
schools
our
cost money.
district instead of spending money to hurt our district.
What'd you say, George?
Huh?
What'd you say?
Oh, I said I would spend money to help our district. Say, I'd spend the $50,000 of tax money to help our district. I'm not gonna spend $50,000 of our tax money on a lawyer to hurt our district. Cause that's what ultimately you'd be doing. Am I right?
it's only after the first reading if you wanted to proceed.
Huh?
Yes.
Right?
Theoretically,
Right?
yes.
Okay.
Good?
I have,
Oh,
so there's been a lot of comparing, Emden to Anson and Solon, and at first, with all these numbers, this is all so new to me. I'm not a numbers person. I studied journalism for a reason. So with that, I started looking into towns that are similar population size, have a lake, and what their tax contribution is to education. I only have a few here, but like Industry has 721 residents, and their education and tax contribution is 62.2%. Mount Vernon is 1,700 residents, and they're 60%. Fayette, I think is how you pronounce it, 1,100 residents, 65%. New Sharon is around the same as us, they're like 1,000 residents, and they're at 53%, and Emden is 53%. So it's easy to get really worked up when you're comparing us to towns that are not like us, and putting that dollar amount of $23,000 for kids in our district and comparing it to Anson, when really that's where it gets confusing for people and misleading, because you can't compare apples and oranges. And I think that's really important. And I also brought up briefly, because this is all new to me too, is we really need to look into the special education costs. It's super risky to withdraw in tuition out kids. This number blew my mind. 21% of kids in Maine have an IEP, and that is really expensive. That means 19 out of the 93 kids in Emden are costing more than the average. And that number, and there's kids in our district that obviously I don't have the information how many are in Emden, but that number can get up to $60,000 a kid easily. Easily, a bad behavioral issue,
Are you
you're
talking
already
about
at 50.
out-of-district placements? How much
Yeah,
that costs?
they're
Even more
the
than that,
district.
actually.
so that's where being part of an RSU kind of protects you, right? Like so if we're gonna use that 23,000 per kid, well, what if, we have a few kids here that they have some really bad behavioral issues or need, intensive help, and they're costing $60,000 a year to transport and educate and take care of, but the district protects us on that. We're not paying extra as a town for that. So that's important to consider.
That number can change annually.
And that can change yearly, it can change monthly, depending who moves to the town. So that's why a withdrawal and tuitioning out, I learned is, from my research, is very, very risky. Especially because I don't see that number, which is super sad, of the special education rates going down, the percentages.
And the cost of treating kids who are in out-of-district placements increases.
Oh, definitely.
That
That
increases
can
all
get up
the
to, I
time.
think, 72,000 is what the district is
Go up to
dealing with right now.
100,000.
I did happen to run into somebody who works in Caraton on the MSU, and she said that Caraton currently has 4 kids, and they pay, it was like a brief passing in public, she said they pay $50,000 a year just for transportation. Parents, basic monthly, have to write down their daily mileage and turn it in monthly to the town and get reimbursed, and then the town pays also for busing from certain points. So $50,000 is a lot more than I thought.
And they're their own,
What? Yeah, they're at MSU. It's what they tuition out
Okay.
their kids. Yeah. So
Paul, do you know what the debt is, what it's gonna cost, end in the first year? To pay off that total debt?
900,000.
900, that's,
Yeah, it was close to $1 million.
that's right now.
Just under $1 million, yeah.
That's not with the new budget, that's okay.
We've got about $50,000 a year for the next 20 years. I was told that the interest is paid now, paying the principal.
Right.
And I don't know, the rest of them is a 30-year note.
So what if debt is incurred before we actually start a formal process? We owe it. So it could be $1.5 million or whatever if, okay, all right.
We know that, I'm making the assumption once the first vote is done, and we're working in between there.
Well, I think that the sense of urgency that was expressed in getting the petition going may be valid, I think.
Well, we can't put out a petition until we tell the people,
Right.
other than the folks that come here, that this is our 4th meeting, the same people, a lot of people. And there's a lot more people in the town of Benton that would be the first time, I think.
we are, the first time.
So, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Good idea about that. It's a good idea about that communication, I agree with you.